Hello everyone, we are talking about ISO 27001 Control A7, which talks about human resource security. This video is dedicated to A7.2, which is during employment. Objective is to ensure that employees and contractors are aware of and fulfill their information security responsibilities. Now, during the employment is categorized into three categories. First category is management responsibilities. It states that management shall require all employees and contractors to apply information security in accordance with the established policies and procedures of the organization. Two examples of such policies are data protection policies and anti-money laundering policy. Now, data protection policy states that every corporate entity collecting sensitive personal information must appoint a grievance officer to address complaints pertaining to the processing of such information and to respond to data subject access and correction requests in expeditious manner, but within 1 month from the date of receipt of grievance. Now, there is no specific requirement that the data protection officer must be a citizen or resident of the same country. There are no specific enforcement actions or penalty associated with not appointing such protection officer. However, appointment of a data protection officer is a part of statutory due to diligence process and thus imperative that such an officer must be appointed. Anti-money laundering policy is an obligation that has been cast for banking companies, financial institutes, intermediaries by the Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002 to comply with KYC, that is, Know Your Customer, so that your information is protected and money laundering is prohibited. Now, let's look at some sample terms which are used in data protection policy. First term is data controller. It is the person who decides what personal information an organization will hold and how it will be used. Second term is data protection officer. It is the person responsible for ensuring that organization will keep and protect the personal and sensitive information. Now, third term is users. Users can be a client, an employee, or a supporter, or a contractor. Personal information, it means that information about living individuals that enables them to be identified uniquely. For example, name, address. It does not apply to information about organizations, companies, and agencies, but applies to named persons such as individual volunteers or employees within a group. Now, what is a sensitive data? It refers to data about ethnic origin, political affiliation, religion, beliefs, trade union membership, sexuality, physical or mental health, criminal record, or proceedings. Now let's look at what a sample anti-money laundering policy will consist of. It will tell you to reject the assets that are known or suspected to be the proceeds of criminal activity. It will ask you to exit from business relationships with individuals or entities known or suspected to be a terrorist or a criminal organization or member of such or listed on sanction list. It will ask you not to maintain anonymous accounts, accounts for banks, or pay through accounts. It will also ask you not to enter into relationships with the clients from special risk countries. It will also ask you not to enter into relationships with clients operating in prohibited industries. Now let's look at category 2, that is A 7.2.2, which is information security awareness, education and training. The objective is that all employees of the organization, where relevant, contractors also receive appropriate awareness, education and training and regular updates in organizational policies and procedures that is relevance with their job function. Two very common awareness or educations are regarding fraud and regarding anti-bribery. Fraud awareness states that victims of fraud come from all educational levels and socio-economic backgrounds. There is no single profile of a victim of financial fraud, and there is no level of intelligence that can prevent a person from being victimized. Everyone is at risk. A single scam can destroy a company as well as devastate families by wiping out their life savings. Now, let's talk about anti-bribery. Bribery can be defined as offering, promising, or giving a financial advantage to another person with the intention of inducing or rewarding that person to do something which he or she requires. Now, bribes are not always a matter of handing over cash. Gifts, hospitality, entertainment can be other forms of bribes to influence a decision. Now, let's look at some sample terms that are used in fraud awareness training. First one is theft. It means that employee steals or misuses cash or non-cash assets such as equipments of the organization. Second is payroll fraud. Employee claims overtime for hours which he has not worked for. Third one is false expense reimbursement. Employee fills fraudulent travel expenses report claiming non-existent meals. The last one is false invoicing. Employee creates a fictitious company and bills the employee for non-existing goods or services. Now, let's look at sample anti-bribery education. It educates people and employees about what is bribery, what is corruption, and how to recognize. It also educates people about the penalties on finding out guilty in bribery. It also talks about and educates about the key risk areas which are there in organization where bribery could happen. And it also educates employees about their responsibilities when they find out some bribery and raise a concern. Category 3 is disciplinary process. It is a formal and communicated process which is well documented and well shared with all the employees of the organization. Also, proper implementation of disciplinary process is necessary because once a person is found guilty, he or she needs to be punished. Now, let's look at sample disciplinary process. We'll have principles that are rules and guidelines. If employee is risk prone to a bribery or a fraud, he or she needs to be informally communicated. For minor issues, a verbal warning can be given. If found guilty in some major issue, a written warning can be given. and if employee is continuing in the process of bribery or fraud or money laundering, he or she will be given final return warning. If an entire group is found guilty, then a gross misconduct can also be given. An employee has a right to appeal that he or she is not guilty in some fault or theft or false invoicing, and a formal judgment process has to be conducted by the organization. Now, these are the references which we have looked at while making this PPT. Some more references. For more information, you can visit our company email ID and website, that is i4-consultancy.com. Thank you.